Thanks for joining me yet again. In this video, I'm going to teach you absolutely everything you need to know about the initial balance. I'll teach you what the initial balance is, how to measure it, and two key setups that it will present for you every single day that you can add to your current trading playbook. All right, it is something so powerful, so simple that not many people understand, and of course in there'll be some pro tips as well. So before we do a deep dive into the initial balance, if you could do me a massive favor, hit that subscribe button underneath right now, drop a like, and if you're enjoying the video, drop a comment. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the initial balance then, what is it? It's a really simple concept that is extremely powerful. Simply put, it is measured from the beginning of a session for the first hour. So from a 9:30 open New York to a 10:30. If you're playing New York session like me, that is your initial balance. But you can also use it, of course, on London exchanges, Asia exchange, or any exchange that you are playing. It is simply the first hour from open. From that first hour, what do we get? We get an initial balance high that I call an IBH, or an initial balance low, or an IBL to be abbreviated. So what might that look like when we look at a market? Let's draw it out for you really quickly so that you can understand. So before I go any further, it's important that you understand the initial balance is not set until 10:30. So from 9:30 to 10:30, you will have an expanding initial balance as price action moves. Let me show you what I mean. So here we have the 9:30 open, and this is the 10:30 mark to mark and represent 1 hour of price action. So let's say we open right here and we push up, and this is your initial balance high for now, and this is your initial balance low. So currently that's where the initial balance is set, and we come back inside and then we expand lower. All right, from this point here, your initial balance low would move down, tracking this. Okay, we are tracking that, and this low will not be set until we hit 10:30. So maybe we come back inside, we make a new low before bottoming out and rising all the way up. At this point, we can move the initial balance down to this low. All right, that's your initial balance low, and your initial balance high will be the highest point, okay, between 9:30 and 10:30. So there we have it. There is your initial balance. Very simple concept. Now you can find indicators to do this. If you trade with me and the Flow Zone community, of course, you get the Flow Zone Pro indicator, which sets this automatically for you every single day. That's how often I use it. So why is this so powerful? It is powerful because banks, institutions, hedge funds, they like to get in and out of their positions in the first hour of trading because it's when the most volume is present in the market. After that first hour of trading, we can identify two key trade setups, which I'm going to go through right now. Part one of this video, I showed you what the initial balance is, how to measure it, and when it is set. So as a recap for you, it is set from the first hour of trading of the session. So for the New York session, it is from the 9:30 open till the 10:30 print. The low of that first hour is known as the initial balance low, and the high of that first hour is known as the initial balance high. And what we can do with that information is then identify the current market conditions. All right. When we are within this initial balance area, it is known as a balanced market. That is often going to be extremely choppy conditions. Okay. If we try and break above an initial balance extreme, say the initial balance high, and we fail, that is known as a failed auction. Price is not being accepted there, and it will look to rotate back inside. So let's just discuss what that might look like first. Continuing the setup right in front of us, let's look at a failed auction. So a failed auction would be something like this, where it pushes up and it fails to hold a high and then comes diving all the way back down, and often will want to check the initial balance low. Once we fail a high, the next area we'll likely want to check is the initial balance low. Now, if you are using a VWAP, you can look for something like this. All right, if this was your VWAP, let's do this as green. That's what color I like to use for my VWAP. Let's do a different green here. Okay, the first area that you could take profits on would be your VWAP, and then you are looking for initial balance low. Right, this area up here is known as a failed auction. The reason for that is there is no price acceptance up there. Buyers are failing to hold bids up there. Instead, they are getting trapped. These are bull traps, and you get a rotation back inside. Often you will get a failed auction within 30 minutes, right? The reason for that is you will have a new hourly bar by 11 o'clock. Nice bit of information there for you to take away. A lot of people don't discuss that, but you will normally have a failed auction within half an hour. So that's when you can know normally if there's a sustained bid or not. Let's now have a look at a failed auction that happens below the IB low. So we might have something like this within the first hour. Okay, then it comes down, back inside, back up, and a little bit choppy. Okay, and then we get to 10:30. So you can see the same thesis applies. You have an initial balance high and an initial balance low. From this moment here, let's assume the market tries to dig deeper and fails. The next area it's going to look to come to is the VWAP, and then to check the initial balance high. All right, so again, a VWAP here would look something like this. All right, so it checks the VWAP, holds a bid, and expands back to the upside. So from here, you are looking for longs. When we are looking at failed auctions, we are playing the extremes of the market. All right, it's important to remember you are not guessing market conditions. Higher time frame will always take priority. Understand liquidity, supply, and demand. Understand your key setups. But for here, where would I be getting long? I would be getting long once we have failed to come below, once we are back inside this initial balance. This area right here for me would be key. For me, the way I would trade this is we have a clear shift in structure here. Okay, change of character, pulls back inside, holds an imbalance, holds the IB low, and I'm looking for expansion back to the upside. All right, so you have to use this within your methodology of trading. You have to understand structure first. Structure and higher time frame is the most important thing you will do when you learn to trade. Let's go back to the first example now, and I'll show you how I would have traded it back as a short for a rotation to the downside. So again, we have a failed auction above. Here is your change of character or shift. We make a new high, we fail below the pivot, come back inside, fail this IB high. That is your short trigger, and a continuation trigger would be here off the VWAP to come and run and test this IB low and the liquidity at the lows. All right, so very, very simple when you understand what it looks like. That is a failed auction setup. Now let's discuss the continuation of trend setup. So now looking at continuation of trend. So unlike the failed auction, we are now looking for expansion. So an expansion through an IB high, a pullback and a hold of the IB high, and an expansion higher over time. This is your signal of a trend day. All right, very, very clear. So where are we getting long? You do not need to get long this breakout. If that is part of your strategy, fantastic. It's not how I teach, and it's not how I trade. I would be trading this right here, this pullback and the hold of the IB high, and then I'm looking for trend continuation again up here. So these are the days where you get these big trend days. It's because it's expanded through the IB high and holds a bid, and buyers keep stepping in and pushing up, because shorts, they keep guessing, trying to get short over and over again, not understanding that we are through the initial balance high. Price action is extremely bullish. The opposite of this is also true for the downside. If you're looking for a trend day down, if you're looking for a short continuation trade, the opposite of this happens. So let's just draw that out for you right now. So the same principles then, we are looking for a breakout below the IB low, ideally a retest of the IB low, and expansion to the downside, and your triggers are exactly the same. So if you're a breakout trader, you can take this. If you're a pullback trader, you are looking to join trend right here. This is how I like to trade these. So two really clear and simple setups. Before we move on to some replays and live examples of how to trade initial balance, there's a key takeaway I want you to remember. When we are trading within the initial balance in here, we are creating liquidity, all right? We are creating liquidity, creating stops. And when we are trading outside of the initial balance, we are using the liquidity to the left of us, all right? We are using previous levels for expansion. It is a key takeaway that can really help you with your trading. So very clearly, before we move on, inside the initial balance, we are looking for rotations. Outside of the initial balance, we are looking for expansions. So with that said, let's look now to some live examples. Into a replay then. So starting off on Friday the 24th of March, okay? And I'm going to open this up. This is the 9:30 open, and we are just going to use a click through here so that you can understand the initial balance. So from here, let's just mark out the initial balance for now as we go so that you can understand. So here is your IB high of present, all right? That's the highest print so far on the day, and your IB low currently right here. So we do this as red. Now I'm going to move these as we start to expand so that you understand how this works. So every candle, I'm going to move it so that you can see how I would set these IBs. All right, so we're continuously pushing down here. And we're going to wait for 10:30. So no change in the IBs yet because we are now within range. Okay, and you can see on my indicator they are now automatically set. All right, that is the Flow Zone Pro indicator. It comes for free when you join my community. And these are the flow zones here. These are EMAs. These are what I use to understand what price is trying to do to keep me the right side of the trend. So if you don't have these, you can put them on your chart. This is a 1321, this is a 3450, and this is a 7289 exponential moving average. So going into this session then, what do we have? Well, I can see right here, we have a low down here, all right? So there's lots of liquidity down here. So I'm automatically aware of this, all right? I have to be aware of structure. I have to be understanding of what market conditions we're in. Currently, we are in chop, all right? We are in a choppy range because we are inside of the initial balance. So right now, there's absolutely no reason for me to look to do anything. But right here, you can see now I am interested. Why am I interested? Because we have taken away the liquidity here. So if we are now going to sustain a rally back inside, there is a good chance we are going to look to rotate back to the IB high. So I'm just going to delete this blue line here. This is the VWAP I'm interested in, and these are the flow zones. Of course, if we sustain underneath here, all right, then I will be looking to get short on an expansion. And if we come back inside the IB low, all right, and put in a bullish pattern, I'm going to look to take it all the way back to the IB high. A very simple way of trading. All right, so it's trying to expand down, maybe one more wash. Okay, so we've taken the key part of liquidity. And there is your trap low, all right? So this is what I'm talking about. Into the first half an hour. See the time here? 11 o'clock. That was the nugget I gave you earlier in this video. This is a new H1 candle. It is failing to hold below. We have a huge move up here in expansion. This is telling me quite simply that price will want to rotate because it does not have a sustained auction to the downside. This is your failed auction, all right? Even if you didn't understand that, you should be able to quite simply see we now have a break of trend. So that everything in there that you need, we took external liquidity, we took internal liquidity, we trapped beneath, turned back inside. So I'm now thinking about how can I participate to the long side if we have a failed auction. So I'm looking for a pullback, all right, and want a pullback into the imbalance, just like this. Now you've got to remember this is a scalp trade, all right? We are in a choppy range because we are going to be inside the initial balance. So do not be holding expecting huge moves. Expect a choppy market when we are inside initial balance. So right now, taking no heat on this, I'm going to look to get one off when we draw up towards VWAP. We're almost there. Right, I'm pulling one off straight away. So now I want to protect this swing low here, right? So my stop is there. If we move below that, just like that, I'm out. Not holding any longer than that because we can have a new auction back down. Remember, inside the initial balance, we will trade from IB low to VWAP. From VWAP possibly to IB high, possibly back to IB low. You need to be aware of the choppy range. So there we go. Back to the IB low, retesting now. Now, if the market now wants to be nasty and run all bulls out, what's it going to do? It's going to attack the liquidity down there. So I can be aware of the same setup again. I can be aware of a trap if it does not sustain an auction. Right, so let's just wait and see. Hanging out. See how it hung out between the VWAP and the IB low a lot there. So let's just give it some time. Now, this is key. Now we've swept and we've come straight back inside. Now, if it reclaims structure here, which it looks like it wants to do, and the IB high, I'm now looking to get long. All right, I'm looking to get long in here. There's my first pullback afterwards. And now I'm going to see if the flow zones will support it. So the flow zones are the EMAs, right? These EMAs right here, I'm looking for them to support my price action now. Dipping back down, holding flow zones. Now we've got the expansion above VWAP. VWAP is that lime green line. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the IB high and this liquidity up here. Okay, so I'm looking to hold bids, pull back in, still holding structure. Lovely. Can we get a move to the IB high? Right there. We got it right there. So selling one off. And now I'm just going to wait to see if we can get an expansion. Can we get expansion, or is it going to fail the IB high and rotate back down? And there's your failure. So back out there, covering all my position. No need to hold. All right, it's simple as that. Super, super, super simple. We took a long up to VWAP. We waited for them to retrap. We took a long back up through VWAP into the IB high. This is how the market likes to rotate. Over and over again, you will see this very, very common. So now let's see if we get a short opportunity because we have failed the IB high and we need to see, can we break structure to the downside, which we have. So we're breaking structure to the downside. Yes, it's supporting a bid here, but we could think about a possible rotation now all the way back down. So we're looking for a push up inside to get short into. There's a nice rejection. So I'm going to start getting short into there. I do not need to risk much here. And let's see if it wants to obey. Like this pattern setting up. Back down to VWAP. I can take one off there. And now I'm going to hold one to see if we can expand back down to the IB low. Now my flow zones are supporting this, so I can add on even more here. And there is the move to the IB low and finish. So we had that nice long move up. Then we had the failed auction at the high. We failed to expand above. We came back inside. There's your pullback. There's your trigger to get short with very little risk. Come to the VWAP. Failure with my flow zones and back to IB low. So there we go. Two very, very simple, easy methods of trading rotation within the IB levels. Now let's look for an example of trend continuation. Okay, so back to March the 20th, all right? Now I want you to see how we set the IB levels here. We are in a higher time frame demand block, which is why it is blue. So you can see straight away here, we have set an IB high, the green line, and an IB low, the red line, all right? And we have failed the IB high, and we are likely to just chop around all day until it can make a decision if it has the ability to expand. So coming back down now, testing the IB low, testing VWAP, back to the IB high, back to the IB low, over and over again. Now we have a failed auction here, notice, below the IB low, break structure, comes back inside. So that's your signal. Now this is an FOMC day, all right, so we have increased volatility on this day. Jerome Powell is about to start talking, but we have a failed auction underneath the IB low here, and we've traded back inside. So already a bullish signal, and the moment he talks, we rip, all right? We run all these stops. We use the liquidity inside of the IB levels. Now we expand through the IB high, And what are we expecting? What are we looking for? We are looking for a retest of that IB high, which we get right here. Low risk entry to the long side because we've already run all the liquidity. And let's see, sustaining bids now above the IB high. And we are starting to expand, all right? Starting to expand, running liquidity now to the upside. So now it's just a question of where is your exit. For here, how would I look for an exit? Not really something I'm going to discuss in this video, but I would be looking just like this for levels to sell into, all right? I'm using fibs all the time. You'll see how well they start to use. And if we can start to let the flow zones catch up, which they are right now, possibly we can sustain a bid to the upside. Notice how also we are expanding above the IB high and not looking back now that it's held, all right? So these are good trend days, good examples of how you can get long for trend days, all right? This is something I teach all my students to do. Understand how to use the IB high, IB low. Understand how and when trend days occur. Let's find one more trend day for you now, which is not based off news. This time then, Tuesday the 19th, okay? And we are into the open yet again. So let's just let this play through, let it set the initial balance, and then we'll see what we have. So far, choppy action. We are inside initial balance, and there we have it. Initial balance now set. Now, if we look left, we are in a bullish scenario here. We are using this old liquidity here, all right? We have trapped down here, all right, expanded back inside, created the IB high, IB low, and now we are building liquidity, all right? But crucially, this is how you need to understand structure. We are above this level here, all right? Old resistance effectively becomes new support. It's a very simple way of putting it, but it is what we have. So we need to be thinking about, do we have a failed auction under here into support, all right? Or can we have a sustained auction higher, all right? So let's just let this play out. Testing IB high, and we are now coming crucially into the new hourly candle, 11 o'clock. Right, so one more candle, there's 11 o'clock. So if this holds now, I'm automatically thinking about a long. So we're rebalancing, and there is a big push. So I am now going to get long into here, and I'm going to risk just below the IB low, expecting prices to expand. And there we have it. We are starting to sustain a bid to the upside above the IB high, which means I'm automatically thinking trend day. Now, how far can we go? Who knows? Like I said before, what you have to do is use fibs. You can use an expansion of the IB for a 100% move. You could use a fib of the pullback area. You can use looking left and looking for higher time frames to sell into. But another great example of how easy it is to get long in continuations or get short in continuations when you understand when and why there is a trend day occurring. So I'm just going to sell this here, and as you can see again, one trade set up very big profits. So there you have it then, a very simple way of using and understanding the initial balance. I teach it to my students. We use it every single day. Now, if you want to learn all my concepts, everything that I teach and my whole playbook, all you have to do is click the link below, www.flowzonetrader.com. There is still a sale on right now for about another week. You can use YouTube at checkout. It will get you 20% off. Hopefully this video has helped you. Don't forget to drop me a like and a comment of what you enjoyed in this video and anything I can help you with in the future. Until next time, trade safe, use hard stops.